Chris, I'm sure you've been in the paddock just as long as me. I'm sure you've got a cool story to talk about.
So you asked me to come up with a cool story, and I don't know if there is a particular cool story because like most of the time I think they all just like amalgamate into one because most of the time it's like most of the stories involve you get your work done and then you clock off for the day and you find whatever local pub does some really good beer and then you enjoy merriments for the evening and then flight home on Sunday. And that usually it's not really safe for work. So on a similar note of like battling the communications methods, having seen it from both sides, was how awful I felt when Albon was supposed to be in Formula E and then suddenly got accosted by Toro Rosso, which we all know how that's worked out now. But I was desperately trying to work out what the hell was going on with Albon because he was there, he was at the test, and he had the gear on and everything, but his car weren't going nowhere. And he, I think if I remember rightly, he said that there was an issue with the car. So they were like covering up, but obviously by this point we know he's going to Formula One. And I had the late Jean-Paul Drio kind of explaining, kind of how he had a call from I think he had either a call from Helmut Marko or from Franz Tost during the Japanese Grand Prix, like, oh, we want Albon, and I thought that it was a bad idea, and so context. Right, this was a time when like Red Bull's junior pool was like really dry. They had pulled Hartley back after ditching him. They were putting Kvyat back in the car because frankly they didn't have anyone else, and now they were going to steal a driver from Nissan that they ditched 4 years prior or something like that to stick him back in the car when they just put Gasly in the Red Bull. Now, no one could have predicted how badly Gasly would have done in that Red Bull. So I maintain what I said at the time, which was that Albon should have turned that drive down. Because as far as anyone was concerned, there was no long-term future with Red Bull. Because like Max and Pierre, that was a super young lineup, and presumably was going to be super fast because Gasly was very impressive in the Toro Rosso. And that surely is a long-term partnership and lineup that they've just created. So what is Albon going to do at Toro Rosso? And I said the safer option, especially for a guy who had to be like bailed out by Drio to continue racing in F2 the previous year, or that same year it was actually. The safer bet for him was to stay with Nissan, manufacturer drive in a great up-and-coming championship, very respected, security for like could have had a WEC deal alongside it as well if he wanted with another team, and he'd have been set up for the rest of his career. And looking back on it now, people like to still bring up the fact that I wrote this piece about why he should turn the drive down, and it's not. I maintain what I said at the time.
It just didn't work out the way you expected.
Just did not work out how I thought it would. How anyone would, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. It was a crazy story. I remember I had an interview with Oliver Rowland actually a couple of weeks. He got the phone call Sunday night saying, I think we need you in Valencia. Could you come? Just to test the car. So you're saying Alex Albon was there. Oliver Rowland ended up being there as well. I don't know if you saw him because I wasn't there. So yeah, Oliver Rowland was there as well, and he was just lounging about the back because he couldn't get in the car because there was contract issues, and ended up not even driving the car. So he was there for testing, but he said it was just crazy, and he said he didn't even know by the end of testing if he was going to drive the car. They said to him, "You might do the first race in Saudi Arabia. You might do the first race, and then we'll try and find someone." And then he said 2 hours later he got another phone call, and he said, "Do you want to actually just drive the whole season?" And I went, yeah. So no surprise, right? But that's the story of to finish up that story. That's how Oliver Rowland got to see. He got the phone call Sunday night before testing even started to say that we might need you.
Yeah, it's a great deal for Rowland, though, because he was great in F2 with dams, I should point out as well. So that's where the connection
The link
came.
comes.
Yeah, because Drio had like 20, 30 drivers on the phone asking about the seat. And it worked out great for Rowland because he didn't really have like much lined up, if I remember rightly. I mean, he was still like Williams' young driver at that point, but like a race seat in Formula One was not looking likely. So big winner out of all of this was Oliver Rowland, who, remember, Rookie of the Year he was. I mean, podiums and pole positions and leading races and beating the Season 2 champion that people regard as the best Formula E driver, certainly statistically the most successful. So, what a year. What a year for Ollie Rowland.
It was. Indeed it was.